ESPN just released their full top 100 list for the 2025-2026 NBA season. These are going to be their top 100 players. The last time I reacted to a top 100 list, it was NBA 2Ks. Obviously, that's a video game. I'm going to treat this one a lot different because ESPN is the world's biggest sports media network. This is when someone thinks of sports, whether it's TV, anything like that, basketball, football, any of that type of stuff, it's on ESPN. This is the top of the top. I'm saying that because I know how some of these top 100 lists or player lists go, or top 50 player lists go. Publications, I'm not saying this is ESPN, but there are some publications out there that will clickbait viewers or that will rage bait viewers because they'll throw someone unnecessarily high. I'm not saying that this is how ESPN will do it, but let's say they throw Jalen Williams above guys like maybe he's above Paolo Banchero, Devin Booker, guys who are definitely better than Jalen Williams. Let's say they just throw Jalen Williams into the top 10 over like an Anthony Davis. Obviously, we know Jalen Williams is not better than Anthony Davis, but it's a popular team in the OKC Thunder. He is a popular player on and off the court. He does have a presence off the court, so they're going to throw someone who has higher popularity higher on the list. And if the biggest sports media platform on planet Earth has to do that just for some more clicks, then we know there is a huge problem in the sports media landscape right now. But I'm going to treat this like it's their full top 100 list. This is going to be what their prediction is for for this season. So basically at the end of this season. And I'm excited to see what happens. Starting with RJ Barrett at 100. Okay, we see he averaged his career high points, 21 last season for a pretty bad Raptors team. And obviously we know he did miss some time as well. I think it's really hard to gauge a player's value who does score a lot of points, but not on a great team like RJ Barrett. A lot of fans will call it empty stats, and I guess I don't necessarily disagree on that to the most, because I do think that if RJ Barrett was put on a better constructed team, he's probably not averaging 21 points per game, but the Raptors are still a developing team. We'll see whether or not RJ Barrett is part of their long-term future. If I had to guess when the Raptors become true title contenders, I wouldn't expect RJ Barrett to be there just contractually wise, his age right now, when he's due for his next contract. But player-wise, at 100, I'm going to have to see who's ahead of him, but it kind of feels a bit low. RJ Barrett, 100 for the Toronto Raptors. Last year was at 53, so definitely fell off a lot. Next, at 99 is Steph Castle. This feels low. I'm definitely interested to see who's ahead of him, but he's coming off of Rookie of the Year, and I'm perplexed. Castle at 99, he is going into a situation next year where the San Antonio Spurs are trying to contend with Victor Wembanyama, with De'Aaron Fox as well, and he's going to start at that shooting guard position. I'm really excited to see how the Spurs team does play out. I definitely expect Castle to be higher than the 99th best player in the league, though, by this time next season. I'm just saying that. Yeah, this feels really low. I'd like to see some of their reasoning. I didn't really see like they have any reasoning. It's just their projections. I think Castle's going to be a better three-point shooter this year. Will he average more points? I would expect him to probably average some more points. We're going to see whether or not someone like Devin Vassell ends up starting for the whole season next year, because I could see Vassell score more than Castle. But I think we're only going to see Castle go up. Obviously, the biggest knock on his game right now is his jump shot. He was not a good mid-range shooter last year, extremely inefficient. He was not a good three-point shooter last year either. I do expect that to go up. He has been making, from what I've been hearing, he's been making a lot of strides shooting the ball in the offseason. I'd love to see what he's going to be able to do for the Spurs team. I think he's one of the best winning basketball players that doesn't really care the position he's in. He's going to give his full effort every single time he's on the court. And Castle, I mean, going back to UConn, this is a guy who played the small forward position. He was someone who even played the power forward position at times. In the NBA, he said, hey, I'd love to play the point guard position when I reach, or I'd love to play the point guard position when I reach the NBA. The Spurs said, sure, we're going to go ahead and do that. We're going to groom you under Chris Paul. Then they went ahead and traded for De'Aaron Fox. After that, Castle accepted his new role as more of an off-ball guard when De'Aaron Fox was on the court, and now he just turned to the Rookie of the Year. Castle, probably a top 3, if not top 2 favorite player of mine in the league right now. Obviously, I'm a UConn fan, but even past that, I just love the player he's been so far in the league. Deserved the Rookie of the Year, and I think 99 is way underrated for him. 98, Walker Kessler. overall cool with this. I've seen him in some trade rumors as of recently. I mean, he's been in them for like the last 3 years. But if this Jazz asking price really is as high as what I'm seeing, then Danny Ainge might have a problem. At 97, we have Peyton Pritchard. Another player I kind of think is too low, but I do see if they end up keeping Anthony Simons, maybe Peyton Pritchard's role isn't going to be as big as we expect. We're going to see if he still comes off the bench. I don't really imagine them running all three of Peyton Pritchard, Anthony Simons, and Derek White on the court at the same time, because that would push Jaylen Brown to the power forward position. And at that point, is that really worth running as a starting lineup? I'm not sure. I would love to see them move off from Anthony Simons because I want to see Peyton Pritchard really take that lead guard role, but that hasn't happened yet. Maybe it happens during the regular season, but I would think Peyton Pritchard is probably higher than the 97th best player in the league right now. We have Naw at 96. I think this is a solid spot. He's going into a really good situation with the Hawks where he should be starting. Will he start? I think, yeah, he'll probably... Is he going to come off the bench or is he going to start? I think it's going to be between him and Zachary Sachet at the small forward position, assuming we're going to have Porzingis at the 5, Jalen Johnson at the 4. I think he's a starting level player in the league, but even if he's not amazing 3-and-D potential, not even potential, he's going to give you great 3-and-D off the bench for a Hawks team who's trying to take advantage of a weaker Eastern Conference. PJ Washington at 95. This is fine with me. I think this is simple. Another guy that's going to see his role change just a bit because he's coming off the bench next season as well. 94, we do have Devin Vassell. I disagree in the fact that that ESPN has, by the end of next season, Devin Vassell higher than Stephon Castle. I just don't think that's true. I even think at the end of Castle's rookie season that there's not even a real argument. I would make the argument that Castle was better than Devin Vassell to end last year. Vassell dealt with some injuries, but still, I think Castle was not by far, but definitely very noticeably the better player. I disagree with Vassell at 94 ahead of Steph Castle. Poeltl at 93, Jakob Poeltl from the Toronto Raptors. He also had a pretty solid season last year. Raptors, like I said, a very much rebuilding team. Jakob Poeltl did just get paid though. Interesting to see what their plan is for the future at that center position. Are we really going to continue to extend and pay Jakob Poeltl, who's definitely at the peak of his powers right now? Don't really see him getting any better anytime soon. But they really haven't had an opportunity to really buy into the center position. Would have loved to see them get a Kaman Malawach in the drafts, but they ended up with CMB, who's not bad, but not someone who I can see them give their full-time starting center keys to. 92 is Mitchell Robinson. Does that feel kind of low? I'm not going to say it feels too low. Robinson, we know his role. He's going to be a shot blocker or rim runner. Has a really good presence in the paint as a defender. We saw that in his the second to last series he played in against the Boston Celtics. Was amazing in that series. But yeah, Robinson at 92. I'm not going to say it feels too low, but interesting. Jrue Holiday 91. Okay, I think at this point in his career, probably, 91 for Holiday feels crazy low considering we know him to be one of the top players in the NBA. He was 36 last year. I'm going to say it's still a little bit low. I think Holiday, in a new situation in Portland, being able to, help develop some of the younger guys. I think we're going to see Holiday have a really good season next year. I don't think he's going to be a trailblazer for too long. But I don't know. We'll see. 91 definitely does feel really low for Jrue Holiday. Still one of the best perimeter defenders in the league. His efficiency has dropped off a little bit, but he's not going to be expected to be the top scorer for this Blazers team next year. It's going to be by committee. They have Shaedon Sharpe. They have Avdija. It's going to be him. Scoot Henderson will give them something off the bench. It's going to be a whole lot of probably 14 to 16 to 17 point per game scores for the Portland Trail Blazers next season. He's projected 12 points per game. I could see something like that. Naz Reid at 90. Would I take Naz Reid over Jrue Holiday right now? Yes. Would I take him over Mitchell Robinson? Probably. And Jakob Poeltl. I would probably say him and Castle are around the same area. I wouldn't really have them 10 spots apart. But, yeah, Reid at 90 doesn't feel too terrible. He had a solid year last year. I wouldn't say it was as good as his Sixth Man of the Year campaign. It does say he increased some of his stats, including points per game, but just eye test wise, I really liked what I saw out of him in the Sixth Man of the Year campaign. He's going to be about the same ranking. It makes sense. I think this is fine. Wiggins at 89. I think Wiggins has turned into the more underrated players in the league just because of his contract. For the longest time, he was one of the most overplayed players in the league, and now he's a really solid 3-and-D wing. And I think he can be that. Would love to see him on a new team possibly than the Miami Heat, because I think he can help a championship level team reach a championship like he did with the Golden State Warriors in 2021. I don't know if that's the Miami Heat, but I do like that they're not hating too much on Wiggs in this. Whoa, Zach Edey at 88. Zach Edey over Naz Reid, over Drew Holiday, over Mitchell Robinson, over Devin Vassell, Zach Edey over Stephon Castle. No, that's not. No, I don't think. Is his role going to be bigger possibly than some of the guys we mentioned before? Yeah, Brandon Clark just got injured. He won't be playing to start the season. Zach Edey's going to be the center's starting, or the Grizzlies starting 5-man. But I don't think you could really make any argument that he's going to be better than Stephon Castle. I think the Spurs are going to be a better team. I'm not saying counting stats matter in the fullest, but I would maybe expect Castle to have better counting stats than him. And I think on the court, eye test, Castle's the better player than Zach Edey, even though they play different positions. I really hate this spot for Zach Edey at 88. I think he's a really solid NBA player. I don't think he's going to be better than Steph Castle. JV at 87. Okay, that's definitely a bit higher than I expected. I am really excited to see Jokic really have a true backup 5-man for the first time in a long time, really, because we know before he had DeAndre Jordan, he had Zeke Naji. Those are two guys I don't want to be on the NBA court if I'm a head coach. If I'm a head coach and those are my backup center, there's a problem. But Valanciunas gives them really good stability behind Jokic. They have him averaging 10 points per game. Okay, that's definitely a bit high, I would say, for JV, especially if Jokic is going to be taking on a lot of those minutes. And I don't really expect him to be on the court at the same time. But who knows? Maybe JV can lift the load off of Jokic, can lower Jokic's minutes enough to where he could be a reliable backup 5. I like him a lot. I don't really see any scenario where he's better than Mitchell Robinson next year, where he's better than Naz Reid next year. That's just my opinion. I also don't think he'd be better than Steph Castle either. I also think Castle's way too low on this list. But I do like Valanciunas. I'm excited to see his role for next year. Bradley Beal as well at 86 feels really low. I think we're going to see Bradley Beal come back to being a really solid player. I want you guys to look at his counting stats over the last couple seasons. It wasn't that bad. The worst thing about Bradley Beal was his contract and was the fact he had a no-trade clause. He wasn't playing horrendous. His role was a lot smaller because he was playing behind Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. I think with the Clippers, we could see him average maybe only like 17 points per game, but still be an efficient scorer. And I think 86 is definitely a bit low, or lower than I would expect for sure for the Clippers. Kawhi Leonard might have some issues as well. Maybe we see Bradley Beal continue or get back to taking on more of a higher scoring role for the Clippers. Jaden Ivey at 85, off of a torn, what did he tear, an ACL last year? He had a season-ending injury. I forgot what it was. Are we really saying Jaden Ivey over Bradley Beal? I don't know. Me, probably not. I would take Bradley Beal for next year. I also would take a guy that was ranked at 99, Steph Castle. But honestly, I don't mind 85 for Ivy specifically. You can make the argument between him and Brad Beal. At 84, we have Tobias Harris. We know what his role is going to be. I think he plays it almost, or I guess he did sort of play it to perfection last year with no Malik Beasley there next year. Maybe we could see Tobias Harris' volume as a three-point shooter go up just a little bit. But he averaged 14 points last year as a 33-year-old. I think we're going to see very similar output from Tobias Harris. He's a really sort of perfect player for the Detroit Pistons. We have Kuminga at 83. What's happening with Jonathan Kuminga? I can't answer that. Is he going to be a Warrior next season? Is he going to be... I'm pretty sure the situation should be sorted out within the next couple of weeks, but I've been hearing that for basically a month at this point. Doesn't want to be with the Warriors, wants to be on in a new situation. I really don't have a comment for Jonathan Kuminga next year because I don't know what his role as an NBA player is going to look like next year. Norm Powell at 82 also feels a bit low, like really low, especially after his year last year with the Clippers. But he is playing next to Tyler Hero now, who do have similar roles as a scorer. So maybe his volume does diminish just a little bit, even though We just saw him come off of a career year. I don't think he's going to be down to all the way at 82. That doesn't make sense. Nembhard ahead of him. Really excited to see Andrew Nembhard. I remember making a video last year talking about guys that if I thought had bigger roles would be able and show their opportunity to even be a star or an all-star in this league. I think Andrew Nembhard might be able to do that, especially with Tyrese Halliburton no longer, or with him being out for all of next season. Nembhard's going to be the Indiana Pacers starting point guard. We're going to see a huge jump for Nembhard. If we're projecting players for what they will be at the end of this season, Andrew Nembhard might end up being a lot higher than 81. I'm just saying. His projection is really only 12 points per game. I think he'll probably hit somewhere between 14 and 17. I'm that high on him. DeMar DeRozan is not the 80th best player in the league. He's not even close to the 80th best player in the league. DeRozan has what was it? It's been in the teens for his streak of having 20 plus point per game seasons. He averaged 22 points per game this year, or in his 16th season, he averaged 22 points per game. Why would I expect his volume as a scorer to go down at all? Guys like him who don't really score in the way that an NBA analytical person would want them to score in terms of three-point volume, getting to the free throw line. Guys like DeMar DeRozan have been criminally underrated in the NBA. Also not great defenders as well. DeMar DeRozan in no sense is the 80th best player in the league. I think this is a stupid ranking from ESPN. I mean, he's projected to average 23 points per game. We know what he's been his whole career. He hasn't really, I guess, aside from attacking the basket, his game hasn't really changed too much from what he was doing in his prime. 20 or 80 feels way too low. Double O at 79. Also, actually, no, I'm not going to say this is too low, but I would probably have DeRozan over him. I said this one thing right when Porzingis got traded. I said that I wouldn't be surprised if the Atlanta Hawks ran Onyeka Okongwu at the 5 and had Porzingis come off the bench. People didn't really like that too much, but I still believe that we could see the Hawks start Double O for this season. Porzingis is coming off of a really weird 2025 playoffs. He looked hurt. He looked like fatigued. He just didn't look like Kristaps Porzingis. He didn't look like the player we knew and fell in love with. And I can kind of see the Atlanta Hawks kind of coast Porzingis to the playoffs. I don't think he's going to play more than 30 points per game if I had to guess. And I think even Onyeka Okongwu could be a better fit for this team in terms of starting lineup. I like Porzingis a lot. I think come to the playoffs, maybe he can take on that starting role. But I would like to see the Atlanta Hawks kind of control the pace of Porzingis when they get to playoff time. Toumani Camara at 78. One of my favorite players in the league just because of what he does on the defensive side of the basketball. I think this is a fair ranking for him. He's probably not too known in terms of other NBA or casual NBA fans, but you have to lock in with Toumani Camara, one of the most fun players to watch defensively in the NBA. 77 is Brandon Ingram. Whoa, that's low. Brandon Ingram and DeMar DeRozan at 80 and 77. That is not good. I don't think there's a scenario where you can even slightly argue that Brandon Ingram's going to be the 77th best player in the league. He's coming off of a season where he played, I don't think he touched, did he touch 20 games played last year? I don't know, but he got traded to the Toronto Raptors. He didn't play a game for the Toronto Raptors. We're going to see him make his debut, but I think coming off of a long break, opportunity to rehab himself because he was dealing with a couple different stuff, I think we're going to see Brandon Ingram come into this Raptors team and be a really solid, I would expect to be leading scorer, but overall contributor. I think this is also a Raptors team who's kind of lacking a full lead ball handler. I mean, you have Emmanuel Quickley, you have Jamal Shed, who are two really solid guards, but I don't think they're 1A facilitating guards that you want to be a lead guard for your team. I think they both could play potentially more off ball, and because of that, Brandon Ingram can be potentially this Toronto Raptors point guard. You also have Scotty Barnes who could play that role, but he's a really underrated playmaker. I think overall, maybe we're just forgetting what he was before his injury, but Brandon Ingram at 77 feels way too low. Brandon Miller at 76, I mean, he's also coming off of an injury, so, I mean, what are we talking about here? And I don't think he's as good as Brandon Miller or Brandon Ingram at all. But yes, this is also projection. I guess I'm fine with this. I'd love to see him in a healthy season. 76 does feel good for Brandon Miller. Jaden McDaniels at 75. Also something I don't mind too much. He had a really good playoff run with the Minnesota Timberwolves. But he's not better than Brandon Ingram, right? I mean, do we honestly think that J-Mac is better than Brandon Ingram? Defensively, obviously, but I think overall game, I have to take Ingram over Jaden McDaniels. Jabari Smith Jr. at 74. Okay, this is interesting. He did also have not really a breakout year last year, but he definitely took some positive steps into being a long-term piece for the Houston Rockets. He did also get paid, obviously, over the offseason, so maybe he will feel good coming off of that money. But they just brought in Kevin Durant, who sort of plays or does play the same position as a Jabari Smith Jr. Smith Jr. is going to be kind of on or in the corner. That's going to be a catch-and-shoot guy. 74 definitely feels really high because he's ahead of DeRozan. He's ahead of Brandon Ingram. He's ahead of a lot of guys I would really take over Jabari Smith Jr. Derek Lively at 73. For the really little time we saw him and Anthony Davis in the front court together, it was a great watch. I really expect this Mavericks team to be contenders in the Western Conference. And 73 does feel good for Derek Lively, maybe even a bit low. I think we're going to see him bounce back from injury and have a really good 2026 NBA season. At 72, I mean, I already said this, Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan are criminally underrated by the NBA media, and I don't really understand why. They are really good scorers. They are by no means inefficient scorers. They're really good scorers. They're not good defenders, and they're also not great playmakers. And the media has kind of just put players into this box and then just throw them to the side. I don't even know how to explain it. There's guys like Cam Thomas. There's guys like Zach LaVine. There's guys like DeMar DeRozan who are some of the best bucket getters we get in the league. But just because they don't play defense to your standard or they don't pass the ball, even when they're in a system where they're not really forced to be main playmakers, all of a sudden they're inefficient, unvalued players. They don't get paid. Cam Thomas did not get paid this offseason, even though he 100% deserved to. Yeah, I don't like 72 for Zach LaVine either. One of the best scorers, pure scorers we have in the league. Like, I love Kobe White. Is Kobe White better than Zach LaVine right now? I don't know. But Kobe White at 71 is a cool spot. My MPJ at 70, another guy really excited to watch next season in a full role with the Brooklyn Nets. Would love to see him and Cam Thomas switch off possessions. You go get a bucket. You go get a bucket. But yeah, I'm really excited to see MPJ hoop this season because it kind of feels like he's going to be a lot more loose in his game. And it's going to have a lot bigger role too. Josh Hart at 69. I saw Hart has a really big finger issue, or in media day, his finger looked all jacked up. That's obviously going to hurt his jump shot, but his jump shot was terrible last year anyway, so I'm not going to say it's going to change his game too much. He's still the playmaker we know he could be. He's still one of the best rebounders in the league, even at 6'4". I think Josh Hart deserves to be on this list. I'm not going to say he's criminally high, but I would probably bump him down a couple spots because there's some guys I would still take over Josh Hart. Whoa, Tyler Hero at 68? Why is Tyler Hero at 68? I don't know about that one. I guess, like I said before, him and Norm Powell can kind of just chip off of each other's production because they both play similar roles. But Tyler Hero's coming off of an all-star season. The Miami Heat have, I would say, gotten better overall. They would for sure have gotten better this offseason. Like the Atlanta Hawks, they're trying to potentially compete in a weaker Eastern Conference. I don't see Tyler Hero being the 68th best player in the league. Tyler Hero is way better than that. This is a terrible ranking. Cam Johnson at 67. Cam Johnson over Tyler Hero? Really? I mean, we know his role next year for the Nuggets is going to be what MPJ did. Is that better than All-Star Tyler Hero? I don't think you can make that argument. That's not good. Denny Avdia, 68 or 66 is a spot I definitely do like for Denny. Great playmaker. He stepped up a whole lot last year for the Blazers, and I think the Blazers have something cooking right now with a lot of these young pieces. Avi on a really nice contract. 66 is a good spot for Denny. Aaron Nesmith over Denny Avdia and Tyler Hero. Aaron Nesmith over Tyler Hero? Really? That one is not good. I'm not even going to talk about like Lou Dort over Tyler Hero. LaMelo Ball at 63? Whoa. LaMelo Ball at 63, coming off of injury. But even when he wasn't injured last year, he was hooping. Career high 20 or 25 points per game. We know his injury problems, but I mean, I don't know. Can you really have LaMelo Ball as the 63rd best player in the league? Really? If anything, I expect them to have him even higher because he's such a popular player and they want to get the clicks on the article. 63 for LaMelo Ball? I'm really good. Oh my gosh. Christian Brown over LaMelo Ball at 62. This is turning... Zion Williamson at 61. I swear if I scroll down and I see role player, I mean, there's gonna be role players ahead of Zion Williamson if he's ranked 61. Who is ranked ahead of Zion Williamson? And why are they mentioning this in a top 100 player article? ESPN got something going on. Austin Reeves, okay. That's not the worst I could have seen ahead of Zion Williamson. I am still 1,000% taking Zion over AR, but that's not terrible. I mean, I'm taking him over Jalen Suggs, but also could be a lot worse. If I see a 3-and-D, ooh, Trey Murphy at 58. I like that. Okay, Trey Murphy at 58. I like that. Trey Murphy, another one of my favorite players in the league. He's probably top 5 as well. He has all the makings in him to be a star in the league. And it might happen this season because Brandon Ingram's no longer there. He's going to take the reins as the highest production value perimeter player for the New Orleans Pelicans. He did average like 21 or 22 points per game last year. I think we could see him hit 25. He could be this team's leading scorer for sure. I also think Zion Williamson's going to be back in his form. I'm still waiting to see a crazy name to have over Zion Williamson so I could yell at something. Miles Turner, not bad at 57 in my opinion at all. iHeart over Zion? Really? Really solid year last year, 11-10, but iHeart over Zion? Are you serious? Really? No, that's not right. Dyson Daniels reigning most improved player at 55. Okay. Like I said, he's going to be playing a really big role for a Hawks team trying to win a championship next season. I'm really excited to see how a truly bought-in Hawks team is going to look like in the 2026 season. Paul George cannot be better than Zion Williamson. There's no argument for Paul George to be ahead of Zion Williamson. Paul George had by far the worst year since, arguably his rookie season. What argument is there to have Paul George over Zion Williamson when he's already dealing with injuries and we haven't started the season yet? When the 76ers as a squad is already dealing with injuries, Joel Embiid is not going to hit the threshold of 65 games. We know that for sure. Jared McCain tore something in his finger already. Season hasn't even started. And Paul George, 54? I don't know. Alex Caruso is a great player. I love Alex Caruso. He's one of the best bought-in winning players we have in the NBA. Has 2 championships already. Could probably get a 3rd this year. He's not better than Zion Williamson. He's not better than Zion Williamson. There's no argument to have him over Zion Williamson. Paul George is such a terrible ranking that I can't even speak on it. Caruso at 53. We all love these perfect role players like Alex Caruso, but you have to sort of understand that when you have a guy like Zion Williamson ranked at, what was he, 60? Was he 60 on the dot? He was 61. When you have a guy at 61 in Zion Williamson who is a menace on the court, who's a dominant force on the court, you can't throw Alex Caruso at 53. No matter how fun of a role player he is, no matter how elite of a situational player he is, you can't throw him over Zion Williamson. Like, you can't throw Ricky Cooper Flag over 100 player lists. You just can't. Zion is healthy. He's looked better. He's looked healthier as a player. You can't make an argument to me that Cooper Flag is for sure going to be a better player 10 spots higher than Zion Williamson. I don't agree with that at all. Laptop moving a little slow. Draymond's, he's perfect for what the Warriors want. He's the perfect Golden State Warrior in terms of defense, passing, playmaking, all of that. I think Draymond's honestly a bit underrated by the public right now because obviously we look at counting stats and we make up our minds. Not we, you guys. But Draymond Green at 51 ahead of Zion Williamson, to me, doesn't make any sense. That's just my opinion. And that is 151, so I'm going to see you guys at 50. Here we are with the top 50. At 50, we're going to have Kristaps Porzingis. Okay. Porzingis, coming off, like I said before, an upper illness, respiratory type thing, also had injury problems. And he's coming into a situation in Atlanta where I don't even know if he's going to be the starting center. He's not better than Zion Williamson. He's not near as better as Zion Williamson. Rudy Gobert over Zion Williamson is disappointing, to the best I could say. I think Gobert is criminally underrated and hated on. He's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer into the NBA Hall of Fame because he has 4 Defensive Player of the Years. He's a winning player. He's a terrible offensive player. He has been in the league for 2013 draft, I believe. So he's about to hit his 13th year in the league, and he hasn't gotten better offensively at all. I don't know about that one. Mikal at 48. I think overall I'm cool with this. Definitely had more of a disappointing year last year with the New York Knicks. I don't think he played at all to the level of what he expected himself to play for. New system, though, under Mike Brown. I expect him to be better. Hopefully he doesn't play as much minutes as he does. But I'm still thinking Zion Williamson at 61. Okay. Whoa, no. Joel Embiid at 47. Whoa. I know he has the injuries. I know he's not going to hit 65 games, so you can forget about all the awards. But, oh my gosh. Joel Embiid at 47. He was 8 last year. I want to throw Embiid at 47. I also want to throw him top 10, obviously, but he has a really good argument to be in somewhere in the 20s. I mean, now I have a new player to kind of, like, Jamal Murray, okay. You could hypothetically make an argument of him over Joel Embiid, but I'm not going to. I would take Embiid over him. Jared Allen's better than Joel Embiid? No, Jared Allen's not better than Joel Embiid. Jared Allen is not better than Zion. Neither is Jamal Murray. Wow, okay. Jalen Johnson, I like to see him get some love, especially after the 2K list when they had him at like an 80 overall. Jalen Johnson's nice. Jalen Johnson is around a top 50 player in the league. Don't hate on Jalen Johnson. Larry Markkanen at 43. Also a spot I don't mind. He could end up being moved soon. Let's see how he performs in the regular season. Julius Randle at 42. Someone who also... did he end up getting paid this offseason? Or did he just pick up that player option? He did sign a 3-year, $100 million extension. Sort of low annually for a guy like Julius Randle. But Randle at 42, I like that he's still around this range of player. OG at 41. Okay. OG Anunoby ahead of Joel Embiid? Ahead of Zion Williamson? I don't know. But I would say I like that in terms of Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, and OG Anunoby. He's the highest of the three because he's the best player out of the wing stops guys. Is that their nickname? I think something like that. Aaron Gordon at 40. Okay, I mean, I'm just thinking about Embiid and Zion being so low. He was also someone who I think was underrated by NBA 2K, but I think at 40 is maybe high for Aaron Gordon, but good player. Desmond Bane, I think Desmond Bane's going to have himself a really good year this year with the Orlando Magic. Their best player, Paolo Banchero, is not a perimeter guy, so we're going to see a lot of open opportunities for Desmond Bane. We're going to see Paolo Banchero able to score more interiorly, and Desmond Bane's going to be able to have good production off that. He was 60 last year. That's pretty low. DG at 38. I like this spot for Darius Garland. Really great bounce back year for him last year. I think we could see him return back to all-star form this year. I really love Darius Garland as a point guard, and I really love that the Cleveland Cavaliers decided to keep him and Donovan Mitchell together, because I think, especially what we saw out of them last year, I think we could see this Cavs team make a push, like I said before, in a weaker Eastern Conference. Amen Thompson at 37. This is projection, remember that, but I love this spot for Amen Thompson. Another one of my favorite players in the NBA. I think at the end of next year, maybe can make an argument for him to be even higher. But it's going to be potentially this team's starting point guard with no Fred VanVleet. Also, Halliburton's not going to be here. Jason Tatum's not going to be here, if I'm not mistaken, because they have season-ending injuries. But I think Amen Thompson's going to have great production off of guys like Alperen Sengun and Kevin Durant. And we already know that he is arguably the best defensive player in the league right now. I know there's a lot of guys you could throw there, but his athleticism, him being able to literally guard every position on the court, definitely grants him to be seen in that level. Ivica Zubac at 36, another player that had sort of a breakout year last year, just getting into his prime. I like 36 for Zubac. I think there's definitely some guys I would have over him, though. De'Aaron Fox at 35 feels... Does it feel low specifically? Probably not, because you have Garland around him and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, De'Aaron Fox 35 feels fine, I guess. Really interested to see in 2 or 3 years what happens to the Dylan Harper, Castle, and Fox trio. Do they all play together? But obviously, this is for the 2026 season. This is cool ranking. Sabonis at 34. At 34, we have Domantas Sabonis. Spot I don't mind too much. I guess you could make an argument of maybe a guy like De'Aaron Fox over Sabonis at this point. But yeah, we're interesting to see this Sacramento Kings team. He's kind of stuck in limbo right now. We know there are moves to be made. 34 for Sabonis does feel about the right spot, though. Don't mind this one. We have Ja Morant at 33. This feels a little bit low, but Ja Morant came off of a pretty disappointing season, only averaged 23 points per game, and wasn't that efficient. Obviously, he came off of an injury from the year before, which also came off of a long suspension in that same season. I think we're going to see Ja Morant return back to the form we know him to be. Looking back at that 2021 draft class, there's probably a lot more questions than answers about some of these players because of Zion Williamson, because of Ja Morant. But I think we're going to see Ja Morant bounce back with a new Memphis Grizzlies system under a new head coach, no longer sharing a backcourt with Desmond Bane. We can see a different Ja Morant heading into next season. Could be positive, could be more negative. Franz Wagner at 31. Okay, this is something I don't mind really. I would probably throw Ja Morant over him because I think Ja will have a better season. But Franz Wagner has proven to be a top player in the NBA. He is good when Paolo's not on the court. We know he did deal with an injury last year as well, but I think him and Paolo Banchero can make it work at the 3 and the 4 for their championship squad because they have a really solid squad built around them. In guys like Desmond Bane, Jalen Suggs. We'll see what happens at that center position, whether it's Wendell Carter. Maybe they make another move, but I like Franz at 32. 31, we're going to have Tripp. Tripp over Ja Morant. Really? Okay. That's not something I expect to see on an ESPN list, especially with a name like Ja Morant. But Jaren Jackson Jr., another guy that had a really good year last year. Per 36 minutes, he averaged nearly 27 points per game. What was he without the per 36 minutes? Did he hit 23? I'm not exactly sure his stats. Jaren Jackson Jr., with being a 7-footer, definitely disappointing that he doesn't really rebound the basketball, but one of the best shot blockers we have in the NBA, can stretch the floor with the best of him at his size. Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. being the two main faces for the Memphis Grizzlies next season, I think they're going to have a chance to prove a lot more people wrong than what we expect. But there's also a reason why they got Zach Edey at the 5. So a guy like Jaren Jackson Jr. doesn't have to be relied on too much for rebounding that basketball. Scotty Barnes at 30 is criminal. He was how is Scotty Barnes better than last year? How are you making that prediction? Scotty Barnes at 30 over Franz Wagner? Scotty Barnes over Ja Morant? Scotty Barnes is now the 30th best player in basketball right now. Went a little too far ahead. But 30 is not even the biggest thing I'm worried about. The biggest thing I'm worried about is how is he ranked higher this year than he was last year? How? He did not have a better season than he did last year. How is he higher at all? That doesn't make any sense to me. There's so many guys I would take, including Zion Williamson, who is 31 spots underneath him, over Scotty Barnes. 29, we have Trae Young. I would even argue him to be higher. I think Trae Young, in a winning system with the Atlanta Hawks potentially going into next season, we're going to see the truest form of basketball from Trae Young, and I'm really excited to see it. 28 is going to be Tyrese Maxey. I'm I'm probably taking Trae Young over Tyrese Maxey. That's just personally me, but they're one spot away from each other, so I don't mind that. Also, Joel Embiid is basically what? Is basically double the spot that Tyrese Maxey was. So, okay. Cat at 27. Interesting they have him at the forward position. Basically saying maybe we are starting Mitchell Robinson at the center. I would say Cat is probably higher than 27. No, this feels a bit low for Karl Anthony Towns. He was 30 last year. He had a really good season with the New York Knicks in his first season with them. I would expect him to be higher than 27. This feels definitely low. At 26, like, Derek White cannot be ahead of Karl Anthony Towns. Derek White is known to be the perfect role player in the league, but you can't make the argument that he's better than Cat. You can't make, like, Tyrese Maxey, Trae Young. Derek White's not better than Trae Young. Come on, that's bad. He's 13 spots higher than last season. Maybe they think all of a sudden we're going to see Derek White turn into Dwayne Wade without Jason Tatum being there in the regular season. I don't see that happening. I don't see him taking a superstar step, but I guess ESPN does. We're going to have Alperen Sengun. Another spot that feels maybe a tad bit low, especially with, I think Kevin Durant's just going to help his game even more next season. But Cat, you can make the argument of Alp over him, even though I wouldn't do that. But yeah, nearly 30 spots higher than last year. Alperen is only going up as a player, and I love to see him there. I don't love to see Chet at 24. Man, how do people think Chet is the 24th best player in the league? How is he? I'm not taking him over Zion. I'm definitely not taking him over Karl Anthony Towns. 24 feels way too low. I'm personally just not as high on guys like Chet Holmgren and Jalen Williams. I haven't seen Jalen Williams yet. I think he would probably be around this spot, so to see him a lot higher is going to be interesting. But Chet at 24, that feels high. It is high. There's no argument around it. 23 is going to be James Harden, 18 spots higher than last year. I thought last year Harden was going to have a lot worse of a season because he already wasn't an efficient player, and then he was going to step into a larger role with a guy like Paul George being out. But guess what happened? Harden turned to all-star level Harden, to really, really solid efficiency Harden, and it was great to see. I really hope that, even though I guess I'm a Lakers fan, even though I'm more of a basketball fan. I'm excited to watch basketball. I really hope what the Clippers have going on, I hope it works out, because they have a lot of fun pieces, and they're kind of putting it together at the end of their careers, but we'll see what happens. 22, we have Spicy P, Pascal Siakam. That feels really high, but he's coming off of a championship run. There's going to be no Tyrese Halliburton on that team next year, so he's going to be the lone number one option, even though Halliburton didn't really shoot the ball too much anyway. Siakam at 22 feels a bit high, but I could see the reasoning of having him this high. 21, Bam. Bam at 21 feels cool. You do have him a couple spots over Karl Anthony Towns, which also I don't agree with, but I guess we're still doing that. 20, we have Kawhi Leonard. What's going to happen with this NBA investigation? I don't know. We'll see. But, geez, we're at a point where Kawhi Leonard's considered the 20th best player in the league. That is interesting, for sure. But, he's dealt with injuries. He's missed a lot of time, so there's reason to believe he won't be as good. Jaylen Brown at 19, that feels cool. I think we're going to see a monster year from Jaylen Brown without Jason Tatum being there. His career high was 26 in 2023. I do remember that. I could see him hit 28 points per game this year for sure in a high-powered Boston Celtics system. I love Jaylen Brown as a player. I think he's a really nice, just solid, compact basketball player where he doesn't really do anything bad on the court. He's a solid playmaker. He's an amazing defender. We know what he can do getting the ball in the basket. 19 feels cool, especially when we're projecting a guy like Jaylen Brown. Why is Jimmy Butler 18? Why? For what reason is Jimmy Butler higher than Jaylen Brown on an NBA top 100 list? There's no reason. Jimmy Butler cannot be ahead of Kawhi Leonard. It's trash. Jimmy averaged, what did he average last year? Didn't he average like 16, or did he average 17 points per game last year with the Warriors? Something like that. Maybe they just expect the Warriors to make a championship run, like nearly unexpectedly, like 2021. I don't see it happening. But, Jimmy Butler, maybe the addition of him has him doing that. I don't think so. I don't. bad spot for Jimmy. Jimmy cannot be a top 20 player in the league still. Paolo at 17 is a guy, or is a spot I do sort of like. I don't see Jalen Williams yet, which is something I'm going to have a huge problem with. But Banchero is in the best situation he's ever going to be this year with the Orlando Magic. The biggest knock on Banchero was that he settled for way too many jump shots, and he was not an efficient scorer. The reason he had to settle for too mmany jump shots is because the Orlando Magic were a horrendous three-point shooting team. They scored most of their baskets inside the restricted, or most of their baskets inside the three-point arc. It's hard to attack the basket when everyone knows that that's the only thing you guys can do. So Banchero had to settle for jump shots, and even then, he was more efficient than what we expected him to do. Now, they added Desmond Bane to stretch the floor. Their team overall is a lot more, in terms of three-point volume, it's going to be a lot better. I think we're going to see a big jump from Paolo Banchero being an interior scorer, and we're just going to see his game progress that much. He has to learn he's more of a LeBron James than a Carmelo Anthony. At 16, we have D-Book. Jalen Williams cannot be better than Devin Booker. I was saying it as a hypothetical in the beginning of the video that if Jalen Williams was ahead of Devin Booker and Paolo Banchero, I'd have a problem. Well, now I do have a problem. He can't be higher than D-Book. And, man. D-Mitch at 15. You could have the D-Mitch versus Devin Booker argument all you want. I would personally have Booker over him, but Donovan Mitchell just came off of one of, not his best statistical seasons, but his team won, 64 games last year? You had to give him something for that, and for that reason, he's going to be at 15. Oh, Jalen Williams is not on this list yet, and Anthony Davis is. No, Jalen Williams cannot be ahead of Anthony Davis. I was saying Devin Booker. I was saying Paolo Banchero, but AD? Oh my gosh. And AD I'm taking over Evan Mobley, for sure. There's Jalen Williams over Cade. Cade at 12, Mobley at 13, AD at 14. I'm moving AD up this list, just by the way. Where is he? Where is Jalen Williams? Jalen Williams cannot be one spot away from a top 10 player in the NBA. There can be no, come on. Jalen Williams cannot be 3 spots higher than Anthony Davis. He really can't. He can't. That's the terrible ranking. That's a trash ranking. That's terrible. He's not better than Donovan Mitchell. He's not better than Devin Booker. He's not better than Paolo Banchero. He's better. He's definitely better than Jimmy Butler. You can make the argument with Jaylen Brown, but I would even maybe take Jaylen Brown over Jalen Williams. You can't have him at 11 and have AD at 14. No, that's terrible. At 10, these are their top 10 guys. Looks like I have to click on another article link. Shout out to ESPN. Finally, we have the top 10 players in the NBA, starting off with Jalen Brunson in the top 10. Okay. This is higher than I thought they were going to have Jalen Brunson. I thought you guys didn't like guards who couldn't play defense. I guess they changed their mind. Jalen Brunson, him and the Trae Young discrepancy in this list is too big for me. I think they have to be closer. I don't think Brunson's the better player for sure, but I think Trae Young's too low. Brunson top 10 is not something I thought I was going to see. Probably also not something I would personally have. But, hey, shout out the New York Knicks. Shout out Jalen Brunson. We're getting the love. At 9, KD. Okay. KD, 9th player. Interested to see who they have over him. He was 9 like last year as well. KD's just the perfect basketball player. Nothing you can say about that. The most purest hooper that you can get. LeBron at number 8. Beneath KD. That's interesting. We think KD's going to have a worse year than LeBron next year? I don't think so. Okay, LeBron still getting the love. Steph at 7. So they have KD, Steph, and Bron 7, 8, and 9. Okay. Mind you, no Halliburton on this list. No Jason Tatum on this list. No Fred VanVleet, who obviously wouldn't be in this range. But those guys are not on the list. Okay. We'll probably put KD over both of these guys. But I'm not going to throw a fit over Steph at 7. And at 6, another guy I'm not really going to throw a fit. I would kind of hope to see him and Kevin Durant not have 3 spots in difference. I'd probably put them right next to each other at 7 and 6. But, again, I'm cool with this. Hopefully there's not someone that's too crazy in the top 5. At 5, we have Vic. Vic at 5. Remember, this is for next year. At the end of this year, this is their prediction. Honestly, I don't mind this. Now 2K had him as a top, what was he, like top 7 player, but that was based on right now. This is based off of what's going to happen in the season, in the playoffs, assuming the Spurs team makes the playoffs. I could see Wembanyama at 5. Honestly, I like this ranking. I don't mind this ranking. I think you could obviously make the argument that Anthony Edwards would be over him, but I think obviously fully healthy, Victor Wembanyama can be this high, maybe even will be this high. I would honestly make this prediction as well. Vic at 5, nothing against that. At 4, okay, so we're going to have Jokic, we're going to have Giannis, we're going to have Shea. Who's the last 4? Giannis at 4, okay. And then Jokic, Giannis, Shea. Oh, yeah. No, Jokic, Luka. Luka over Giannis. He's going to be at 3, huh? Okay, Giannis at 3, or Giannis at 4, Luka at 3. Really? Okay. I'm still standing on the facts. I'm probably one of the only guys left on this hill. I think Giannis is the best player in the league. I mean, that's probably not too popular anymore, but that's just what I'm going to say. I think he's the most dominant player, the best player in the league. Obviously, Jokic is right there too, but geez, underneath Luka is not something I expected to see. Shout out Luka Doncic at number 3. And now we get to see the top 2. Is it Jokic? Is it Shea? Who will be number 1? Hopefully, it's Jokic at number 1, because if it's not Giannis, it would be Jokic. At 2, we're going to have SGA. And at number 1, we have Nikola Jokic. Now, the biggest gripes I have on this list, starting at the very top, Steph Castle at 99 was horrendous. That was terrible. Then making our way down, DeRozan and LaVine were too low. Zion Williamson was way too low at 61. Embiid was too low. After that, Jalen Williams is way too high. And then at 4, I would bump Giannis up spots. I think Giannis is better than the 4th best player in the league easily. Giannis is not the 4th best player in the NBA. He's 1 or 2. I'm telling you that right now. He's not 4. He's got no help next year either, so we might see him average 40, 20, and 10. Probably won't even average 10. Probably average 5 assists. But, yeah, that's the top 100 list. This was a long video. It was worth the making, though. Shout out Jokic. Shout out ESPN. This is a horrendous list, but shout out you guys anyway. And see you guys next time. Peace.